going on, Jerome's looking ahead towards the NFL draft. The Vikings don't have a ton of draft capital, but at number 24 as well as number 97, the first and third rounds respectively, they can still certainly do some damage, except Kwesi can't draft. Blah, 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 blah. Kwesi can't draft, except Jordan Addison is legit. Diamond Dallas Turner is going to be a star. Kyrie Jackson, rest in power, would have been starter. Will the Thrill Rockard, after his injury, going to be good to go. Yeah, J.J. McCarthy has a chance to be him. Like, hey, J.J. McCarthy wins 5 Super Bowls in 4 years, something like that, as well as is in the MVP conversation. Kwesi still can't draft. Blah, blah, blah. Or they'll just give credit to Kevin Connell. That's how it works. But Chad Reuter over at NFL.com, fantastic college football writer, great in the draft. 2025 NFL draft, ideal top 2 picks for every team. And this is what Chad wrote about the Vikings. At number 24, Azareye'h Thomas, quarterback, Florida State. Now, again, does that seem a little bit high for Thomas? Possibly. But there's so many players. Like Thomas, you look at Trey Amos, you look at Benjamin Morrison, you look at Siobhan Ravel. Like, there's a lot of corners that could go 20. They could go 40 or 50, but Azareye'h Thomas is legit. He's a damn dude, man, as well as Wyatt Milum. So he's an offensive lineman that a lot of people haven't talked about a ton. Now, mainly it's because, well, he's likely going to kick inside at the NFL level. It doesn't have too long of arms for a tackle, even though he was a dynamic tackle for the Mountaineers. But he is more of a power/gap guard. Now, the Vikings have been outside zone, outside zone, outside zone. That's why a guy like Ray Zabel fits in. But what if the Vikings are subtly shifting their philosophy up front? Because, Ryan Kelly, he's perfectly fine in an outside zone, but he's not the most fleet of foot. Yeah, Wolf Fries is perfectly fine too, but with the addition of Jordan Mason, who is great in outside zone, but can also run a ton of gap principles, well, the Vikings are subtly shifting to more of a man gap blocking scheme, which we want those 330-pound guards, man. Absolutely do. But this is what Chad wrote. Minnesota brought back Byron Murphy and signed ex-Eagle Isaiah Rodgers, but could still use a corner with size on the outside. A 6'1.5", 197-pound Thomas has size to spare and will lock up larger targets when allowed to use his physicality downfield. The Vikings traded their 2025 second and third round selections in separate deals this spring and was awarded a third round comp pick. They used that to fill a hole here at left guard by selecting Milum, who could successfully shift inside from left tackle thanks to his active feet and willingness to finish. Now, with Thomas, Azareye'h Thomas had a great career. He was a huge part of their successful FSU team 2 years ago, and he fought the good fight last year when Florida State was ass. Thank you. But Thomas was one of the few shining lights on that team. And last year he had 5 passes broken up, a pick, as well as a 50.2 quarterback rating when thrown at, which is good. And quarterbacks only tested him with 33 targets. Like they were avoiding him at all costs. He's a press man corner. He's a puncher. He's physical, long arms and big hands. He's a tough tackler. Also, plays pretty clean despite his physicality. Only 6 career penalties over 3 seasons at Tallahassee. Also, frankly, his playing style, his size, his length, his physicality does remind you a lot of the late, great Kyrie Jackson, rest in power. So I think that this would sync up with the type of corner that Flores is looking for. And Thomas, again, 24 seems a little bit high, but could it be involved in the trade down? It's possible. His scouting report on NFL.com. Press man cornerback with average speed but excellent length to disrupt game flow for opponents. Now, he didn't run the 40. But he's not going to be a world beater, but adequate. He's fine. Thomas deters early looks his way from quarterbacks by jabbing, crowding, and smothering the release from press. He lacks route recognition and lateral twitches stay tight to breaks from off man. He also needs to develop his instincts and trust his eyes from zone coverage. He has average top-end speed, but competes to shrink the receivers downfield catch odds using his length and ball skills. He's more likely to spoil a catch than make a play on the football that results in a turnover, but that could change with more experience. He's below average in run support, although he improved in that area in 2024. Thomas needs some more seasoning, but he could become a good starter within 2 or 3 years. And the Vikings, certainly could and should be looking to add some more cornerback depth. Even though I like the room, but you certainly can get better because there's potential there. But you do want to hedge your bets a little bit. And a guy like Azareye'h Thomas, who, like we said, has a lot of skill set crossover with the late great Kyrie Jackson. It's the type of cornerback that Flores wants, the type of corner that Flores needs. In terms of Wyatt Milum, so he's interesting. So he's 6'6" and a half, 313, almost 311. Amber is the color of your energy. And overall, like he was fine. He checked the boxes physically. Like he's not a physical freak by any means, but he's going to get after things. It does have shorter arms. It does have huge hands at 10.25 inches, but he's going to get it. Like vice grip hands, anchor for an ass. He is a thumper. He's a finisher, and sets quick, good at communications and games. A 92.5 PFF pass blocks grade last year. 6 pressures, 0 goose egg D'Angelo Russell sacks allowed. So he's pretty damn impressive. And Milum's scouting report. Tough, strong, and assignment-oriented, Milum possesses the frame and mentality of an NFL player. It's hard to get excited about his prospects at tackle as due to his shorter arms, but there is no reason to believe Milum can't bump inside a guard and offer tackle depth in a pinch. He plays with heavy hands in pass protection and has ideal instincts to sniff out twists and stop them in their tracks. He's hard to bull rush or push around in the running game, but he will slip and slide off sustained blocks at times due to narrowing base. His physical profile, play strength, and football intelligence could have him ready as an early starter in a gap scheme team. So again, going back to gap, but he wouldn't be a liability overall in outside zone. And he did run a decent amount of zone for the Mountaineers, but your gap is where it's at. But if you want an edge, if you want physicality along that offensive line, Azareye'h, Milum, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, Brian O'Neill, baby, you got a stew going. Baby, you got a stew going. And like the report said, some tackle flexibility as well in a pinch. So overall, like Wyatt Milum, if you get him in the third round, 97, I think that's huge value. And with Thomas, if Thomas is a guy and he can't trade down to 24, that's fine. But also, I would take a chance in potential trade down if a team is interested to come on up, because you're looking at Thomas and Ravel as well as Trey Amos, Morrison. Like, styles do make fights, but I do think that he would check the box in terms of the long, lengthy physical corner on the outside that Flores would want in this defense. But your thoughts are thoughts. 2 ideal fits: Chad Reuter at NFL.com, Azareye'h Thomas, as well as Wyatt Milum. Woo, I like it. Let us know. Comment section. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol, production value.